All right. Today we have something very exciting. We are doing a collaboration episode, Short-Term Rental Pro podcast, alongside STR Like the Best. We've got Mike Chang in the house and a special guest. Mike, I'll let you take it in an intro who we've got to my right.
All right. Our special guest today is Syed, Lateff, one of the OG Airbnb operators. We're going to be talking about our respective journeys today. And now we're actually in Nashville at the STR Wealth Conference. So it's cool the three of us can get together physically to do this.
Yeah, we are not on Zoom. We are live from the hospitality.fm podcast booth. And I've had the pleasure of having both these guys on the podcast separately, Syed and Mike. And I've been on Mike's as well.
Yeah, Syed's been on mine as well.
Yeah. So we're putting it all together today.
No, it's great. Like, we're actually all in the same space, and like here with 3,000 other people at the STR Wealth Conference, probably the biggest STR specific conference here in the US, seeing all these new investors like trying to figure out the short-term rental game as it's changed now in 2024 has been really interesting. Like, have you guys heard any of the workshops so far?
Well, we started out with Sean Rakovich, who was standing 25 feet in front of us momentarily a second ago.
Very nice suit, by the way.
Yeah, and I think one thing we were joking about that's cool is that like how we've all kind of like learned from each other, or like, you know, maybe I'll say I've learned from Michael's learned from Syed, and not trying to create any hierarchy here. And maybe, you know, everybody's learned from Sean being kind of like the OG short-term rental content guy. But really, yeah, it's like a small world, and you know, it's cool when you can see people being like, oh, this person said this thing and like I took it and I used what they said and it helped me in my business.
No, like I think the strat, like hearing people's strategy is always really important. I think meeting people in person, you actually get a real conversation. Like, hey, what's really going on in your business? Like I said, what's really going on in your business? Jeremy, what's really going on in your business? Unfiltered, right? And they actually share more. And I might not be able to copy paste exactly what you guys are doing, but I'm like, oh, this concept actually makes sense. Like, how does it make sense in my Philadelphia market versus in Chicago versus in the Carolinas, right? So like, that's where I get a ton of value from these conferences, is because you can have a real face-to-face conversation. You can only go so far on Zoom, especially if you don't know the person. It's still fairly high level, but when you like meet someone in the flesh, you're like, hey, you actually exist as a real person.
I would also add to that beers, definitely, when you say in terms of honesty of what's going on in your business, open bars. And thank you for hosting an open bar yesterday. That started off my night, and if you're watching this, my eye bags are, you know.
It was too bad we couldn't get Syed couldn't come. He was delayed. Yeah. He was delayed on his Chicago flight.
No, my flight from Dubai was a little late, you know. So I landed Nashville pretty late.
The O'Hare Airport in Dubai.
But yeah, Syed, man, what's good with you?
Yeah, for me, it's been awesome. I went to Ryan's party last night, and it was amazing to have everybody I see on Instagram in one room with 30 people there. So it was pretty amazing to be invited to something like that. I got to meet them in person, and like for me, it's like I vibe off somebody's energy, and I like hearing what they're doing. And if they're doing some big things, it gets me motivated because I get in my competitive mindset. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go back and do the same thing. So that's kind of what I get out of conferences. So I'm looking forward to this one. You know, I just got in. I'm looking forward to meet with all these people that I see on social media.
Yeah, well, if you came last night, we had 40 people there. So
dang, you had a better party than we did.
No, they're so good. No, but like for me, it was like I brought people in my mentorship in my program there that like I've been mentoring, and like one, I actually get to meet them in person, which is like really cool to meet in person, to introduce them to the broader network, right? Because I think when you come to these things, especially if you don't know short-term rentals, it's actually pretty intimidating. You're like, I don't know any of this terminology, I don't know these people, but we can go somewhere before and have, like you said, have some beers and sit down, and like it humanizes this image that's on social media that seems so far removed. But when you actually talk to them, it's like, hey, like, you know, Jeremy is not too different from me. Mike, not too different from me. Syed, not too different from me. Maybe they started a little bit before me, but I can get there too. I think, like, to your point, it just gives people confidence that they can do this too. Which again, like, I think there's a lot of value in just like the physical interactions that help us all like propel our businesses forward. Which I think these things are so valuable. So we spent like $800 to come here. So
yeah, exactly. And I think one of the things you touched on earlier is, you know, a lot of times I feel you're building your business, your head down every day, and this, you know, this is a real business. Short-term rentals, it's people entering your property. Yeah, they book online through an app, but in reality, you're making real world stuff happen. And when the more real world stuff happens, the more situations you'll deal with that can be stressful. So when you see stuff on social media, and a lot of times folk have the tendency to kind of paint the rosier picture of what's going on, you get a little discouraged, like, oh man, am I the only one who's like feeling these stresses too? Like, is everyone just, everything's that smooth sailing for everyone? But then when you talk to people and they're like, yo, I mean, I'm dealing with BS too, and and you guys compare how you deal with it. And that's something, again, that in person you just get, that you just do not get. Someone's not going to share that with you on a 30-minute Zoom.
It's not, because
or on a 10-second Instagram.
Exactly. And it's like, and I mean, that's on the physical part, like that's where we met. That's where my wife Liz and I met Syed. It was in 2016 at a meetup hosted by Mike McKay in New York, and he flew over from Chicago, gave a talk. Liz actually was there. She met him, and then we started connecting, and Syed had a really powerful piece of advice that we didn't think about that really help us grow our Philadelphia business. And him and I always talk about the $1 million conversations. That was the $1 million conversation, right? Like I literally went there, and there's something it's the thing. It's like I was reading this thing now actually about this quadrant of knowledge, and the most valuable quadrant of knowledge, it's called the unknown unknowns. Like sometimes what you don't know, or you don't know, but it's the things that you don't know that are the $1 million conversations. Like, oh, I didn't even think about that. I didn't even know about that. And it just opens up your perspective. And you're like, oh, I can do things this way. And those are that's why I'm here. I want to know I want to figure out what are the unknown unknowns in my business, in my life, and what's going on in the world. And then that's when I can have those $1 million conversations.
Yeah. And also to add on that, it's cool when some people are just so passionate about something in particular. And it's something where oh, I've kind of and then you kind of absorb. I mean, Ryan Bakey I'll just give him, shout out to Ryan, but that guy is excited and happy about what he does for a living. And he will talk about it all day, nonstop. He'll jump right into it, and I'm like, damn, this guy's really, really passionate, excited about this. And I'm like, all right, maybe this is something that's more fun than, I think it is. All right, if he's this happy about it, this is something that warrants my energy as well.
Well, what gets you excited? I know you have your B&B Calc business. It's a software business that is related to short-term rentals, but it's a different business. It's a software business. This is a real estate hospitality business. How do you juggle between the two?
Yeah, I mean, so I started with a boat rental business. I've had the property management, buying new properties, have the software business, and then I also try to, like we're doing right now, create social media content on this topic. So yeah, it's a lot, and I'm constant. It's the biggest battle in my life. And I would say my fiance, she's also self-employed, quit her job, and it really has been a team effort to get her to that point where she's pursuing her dreams and ambitions too. So I would say I do allocate time to helping her, and she allocates time to helping me. So it's a constant battle of shit. What do I allocate? Pardon my language. What do I allocate my time to on a daily basis? What do I, and also, what do I do? So yeah, that's the biggest struggle definitely of my life is what should I be doing? What warrants, more time and energy. And so I don't have a perfect answer for that. Yeah. The software's fun. That's a cool thing. That was I studied computer science in school. I used to build web applications for clients. So it was a little kind of full circle, going from short-term rentals, and then the houses providing me the freedom to get back into that world without having to worry about, I need to raise $2 million of venture capital and, have to worry about all the runway and paying my own salary and stuff like that. Being able to not stress about that allowed me to do something creative in a field that something that I'm passionate about. But yeah, it's its own level of a grind. A software business is just so different than Airbnb management business. It's just, so that in itself has been an adventure.
That's right. I mean, look, I think it's marrying different passions, right? You have a passion or marrying passion with what you know, right? Because short-term rentals, that that industry really well, but you give a passion for software, and marry that two together.
And I think that's cool. Yeah, you build a product that you use, and I think that's definitely been one of the most rewarding parts of it is I use this software, and I know if we add X, Y, or Z feature, I know I will use it. I know people that I work with will use it. You just have like a domain expertise on something.
I mean, I know a lot of real estate agents out there have found your tool really successful, so really helpful for them to generate business, especially in this difficult environment. So it's cool that I use the product too. So I think it's really cool. I'm curious, like Syed, so you're the one here that like, Jeremy and I both have like 30 some odd units.
Syed's the OG of the OGs. If we haven't,
Syed has like 10x of he has like 300 units. Right? Like, how is it like running a 300 unit Airbnb arbitrage business?
So, like you said, I have,
because I never see you on your phone. You never actually like answer. I don't see you answering your guest messaging.
Yeah,
like,
you never texted me back.
Yeah,
bro.
do your guests never get locked out of their apartments?
So yes, I have all of that. I have 310 units in my market in Chicago. I've been doing it for 7 years now, so it's been some time. But over the years, I created a big infrastructure and team for my business. And, my margins are not like what other people have margins in their business. My margins are a lot less, maybe half of what you guys have, right? So, because I have a lot of people helping me in my business, and I have an infrastructure of different teams. I have my operations team. I have my finance team. I have my revenue management team. I have my cleaning support team. I have a bunch of different teams. And then above and beyond that, I have leadership. I have people that everyone ends up reporting to. I use this system called EOS. It's from this book called Traction. And, that helps me scale my business and makes me be outside of my business and have to only worry about the big problems, So, I like to say I made it where I'm working that 2-hour work week now,
2-hour work.
Yeah. So I'm usually never on my phone. Only for
5
problems.
hours. That was too many.
So is it,
yeah.
is it, I'm of the belief of like hiring and sales are like, when you're an entrepreneur and scaling, those are the two hardest things. Like I struggle with hiring. Like I hired 4 people. Like I believe in I believe, at least in this stage of my business, hire fast, fire fast.
Yeah.
Right? It's too hard to like go through that entire process. Like the interviews on the job, it doesn't work out. You let them go and shake hands and move on. We've hired 4 people recently. We let 2 go. One is like, might be on their way out too. It's not a good fit. Like, how have you, maybe talk a little about your organization. Like, how big is your actual, you have 310 units, right? Like, how big is your US staff versus your overseas staff? And like, how do you organize it?
Sure. So I had a couple months ago about 100 resources in my business, which consisted of 50 of them in the Philippines and then 50 in the US. The 50 in the US are basically laborers, like cleaners, runners, movers, and 1 general manager overseeing everything. The team in the Philippines is like my back end work. It's the brains of my business. And again, it had the different departments like marketing, operations, finance, revenue, HR, it's all built in within that. But last month I had to take a reduction in my staff. As I mentioned to you guys in our group, I started comparing my business to other similar sized businesses in my industry. And I realized that I have an over amount of people in my business that I don't need. And I said, okay, maybe if I bring this down a little bit, reduce it by like maybe 20%, 15%, let's see what happens. And I took a reduction on my staff. And then I asked like 1-2 weeks later, how are things going in my business? And my team said things are going fine. So it goes to show you I had a lot of wastage in my business. Yeah. And that's things that because I'm not like in the details like that, things like get by you, you don't have a control of certain things. But now I have to see like, hey, can I take another reduction and see if business is as usual? So that's kind of the mindset that I have. Yeah. But I have the same concept as you. I overhire and then I find out who are the best players in there, and then I remove the ones that are not. And that makes me have people that have been with me for about 6-7 years now because I kept all the good ones. Yeah. So yeah.
You got the A team. You got the Filipino Chicago
A team. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
and just hearing them say that, see that again, this is an example of, I have different businesses and I've been hiring different people. And frankly, I've been like reluctant to hire people. Like that's kind of been my approach. It's like cautiously hire. Yeah. But now based off this conversation, I'm like, oh, maybe there's a different approach that we should try. Hire fast, fire fast. So thank you guys. I'm going to let you guys know how that goes.
Yeah. No, I mean, it takes practice, and honestly, I think it takes practice too. Yeah. Like it's hard to find a superstar in the first one, right? And then but I think once you kind of build the right team, it will compound itself. Are you having some technical issues?
Yeah. I tried to adjust this and I ended up messing it all up, but I'm just gonna hold it. So bear with me.
Use those muscles you got from working out a Lifetime earlier.
I know, I mean, you seem really busy, but I see you at the gym all the time.
Hey, we got to prioritize health before wealth.
There you go.
Health. health leads to wealth. Let's just say that.
Fair enough.
I agree.
We all play basketball here. Who has the best 3-point shot here?
Out of the three of us here in this booth right now,
So I'll never doubt my 3-point shot, but I seen his game on Instagram and I see his stats. For sure in a game, this guy's next level. If he is in a men's league at this age and on top of the league, I give him mad props.
But he's only made 1 3-pointer.
Is that really what the stat? No,
I'm averaging in that particular league. So I'm in
so
2 leagues.
he
One
has
league's an
he
NBA 3-point line.
Oh, okay.
And I play the whole game, and I'm averaging 15 rebounds. So I get tired. I can't. My legs are not there.
5 total attempts.
That's per game. Per game.
1 made 3-point shot.
Per game. That's per game.
Yeah, because when I saw it, I saw 50% field goal shooting. Like I'm like, damn,
20% 3-point line.
That's pretty good.
He's the Airbnb in Bede.
Yeah, hey, for me, my portfolio will not get as big as, the guys I'm sitting with today. And, it's cool, but I will get more buckets.
So you just sold, you just sold something too, right? Listen, tell me, you just sold something. You just sold a property, right?
Yeah, it's actually funny. So yesterday, the open bar at the conference, or the welcome party, was sponsored by Savvy Realty. And I wasn't paying attention to my phone. And I looked at it like while I was at the open party, like, oh, the transaction went through. There was some appraisal issues, and the deal got the 7-day grace period got kicked in, and so I wasn't paying any attention. And I'm like, oh, I guess I just sponsored this welcome party. Essentially, you're welcome, everybody.
Tyler owes you a drink, right?
Yeah, but I sold a property for the first time ever doing that. That's a completely new experience in itself, and kind of a liberating feeling. And for that particular one, which we can get into if you're curious, the whys behind it. But it feels good. Well, actually, I haven't looked at my bank account, so I don't know if there's money in there. But I suppose when I see that, it'll feel better.
We'll cover it on the next episode of STR Like the Mess, or if we ever will do the
collab pod,
the live. Yeah, Jim and I are trying to do more live events. So we should get that back on the calendar. No, it was great. Like I think I'm glad that we're all here. This is a great job to Bill Faith and Mike Strogren for throwing this together. It is not easy to put together a 3,000 person conference in a real convention center here in Nashville. So shout out to Mike and Bill for having the vision to do this. There's a lot of money. Like they got to rent this place out a year in advance, and
they put 7 figures definitely on the line.
Yeah.
I mean, they got it. I'm sure they got it back, but initially the initial checks,
I mean, we all know, right? Like,
you
signed that first check, that first investment, like you're projected to do that, but like projections versus actuals are 2 very, very different things.
And that's risk, and that's business.
And that's risk and business. Oh, I always love talking business with you guys.
Yeah, I guess. What are you guys excited for? This is February 2024. Like, what excites you guys?
So for me, I've been in this mood that I need to be in Dubai. I fell in love when I went to Dubai a couple of weeks ago, and the energy over there, people are ambitious, driven, and the social media game is kind of what I'm trying to expand on, my personal brand, because I feel like I've done a lot in the actual STR space, and I got to a point where I want to see other avenues of revenue. So I think my move is Dubai, and I'm going to be going there more often.
You're going in March, right?
Sorry?
You're heading 2 weeks?
Yeah, I'm heading in a couple of weeks, and I'm looking to start some units over there.
Okay.
I do have some concerns on the market and seems of like the demand and supply, because they've just been growing the supply crazy style in Dubai.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at
what's the metric again?
Like, if you look at AirDNA, like 2 years ago, they had 6,000 units. Like, and then COVID happened and everything, and now they have 29,000 as of today. So imagine, like, 4 or 5x, and it's like, can the demand keep up, or is this a bubble? But I don't want to.
You're gonna go there. You're gonna go there and contribute to the bubble, further inflate the bubble.
Yeah,
I am.
Or he's gonna
or my birthday.
Economies. he'll apply economies of scale. He'll lower the cleaning costs, and he'll absorb the pain longer than others can.
So my plan is not to scale there, but my plan is to have some skin in the game and make it a lifestyle thing where it motivates me to go there, visit. It's good. Yeah. It's good energy there. I like it. Yeah. So
it's the fastest growing area in the world, right?
Yeah.
Like, all the golf money there. Like Saudi's really trying to increase their profile there.
Right.
I'm assuming they have extreme seasonality because it gets hot.
Hot. Yes.
Yeah. Like right now is probably the high season.
Exactly. So they're making all their money right now. Everyone's happy. Everyone is like motivated. But yeah, let's let's see what happens when they go into slow season. So, but it's like opposite of my, Midwest market, right? So I'm bleeding right now. I'm taking 6-figure losses. Like my January loss is $375,000 loss in 1 month,
Granted, just to contextualize your July or August.
What's your
What's your
highest one? What are you making? Like cash flow, not revenue, right?
Revenue. So, okay. So
And what's your cash flow?
And my cash flow in the summer months is like, $400,000 a month of positive net income. Yeah, then it offsets from the winter. So, at the end of the day, I do good, right? I do good on the annual basis. Like I make my like $1.3 million worth of net income.
There's $100,000 a month of profit.
Yeah, $100,000 a month.
But he works 2 hours. I mean, like, and I know this is like a marketing like tagline, but like I've spent 4 days with Syed, and like this guy, he's on his phone. Like
he does have 2 phones, so I don't know how that
one's for Instagram,
one's
one iPhone and one Android.
But he really does. I mean, like I've really seen you. You really are this. Your team runs the business, and that's a true business owner, right? Like you don't you have people running the business, and you're focused on like the growth, right?
Yeah. So I like to say that my actual work is not a lot on a weekly basis, but the amount of stress that I have to manage is like more than everybody else.
What's the most annoying part? What's the most stress? And I know the answer already is, but what's the most annoying? What's the most stressful part of your business right now?
So a couple of things. Like one is lawsuits. I'm going through a handful of them. So that stress of that, getting like the demand letters, dealing with depositions, that is stressful as heck. And not knowing the outcome. And number 2 is problems that the guests can help me that make my business crippled. Like I've had a recent sexual assault in one of my units. But that ended up being a domestic issue when I thought it was some stranger on the street. So it was a huge change of like my mind. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to come down on us. It's going to be a big problem. But it was a domestic issue. Sorry it happened to this person, but like, okay, I always think it from my perspective because I'm a business owner, and your mind really shifts. Like you're just like, okay, how am I going to get sued for this? How am I going to get sued for that? And like, it really takes a toll on you. You look at the world different.
Well, that's what, again, you're at that scale. Like that's your operations are smooth, but it's just real shit is happening. Like, and how when real world stuff happens, you got to respond to it in a real world way. Right. So, I mean, I respect the fact, I mean, you're honest with, again, like you're cash flowing 7 figures. Like you're crazy. I mean, you're doing crazy amounts of revenue. Literally the king of your market. I'm sure you look around and you can see almost every building you have properties in, which is insane. But, kind of, the old cachet, more money, more problems. Yeah. But being like, I respect being honest about them. And, I think you were being honest. People were suggesting, oh, you should, maybe talk to this person, or, kind of being honest with your issues then allows people who have actually come out and say, oh, I faced a similar problem before. This is how I dealt with it. This is who I talked to. Right. So if you keep everything bundled up, I mean, I think that's kind of where things start to, kind of things explode.
Right. Yeah. And even like coming to this conference and like I heard about your problems that you were having with yours. And I'm like, man, you have some similar problems that I was dealing with, So it's just interesting that you feel like, oh, okay, you feel like a connection with people and like, oh, okay, I want to hear how you resolved it. What did you do? So it's always good to like, meet in person.
Yeah. There's no there's no playbook in this, but there's no like, degree for Airbnb, right? Like we're literally building the playbook now. Like all of us are.
We're still in like inning 1.
We're still in inning 1, right? And I think this is where it's helpful, like to share your journey and like be like transparent about the problem. Because if someone never tells you their problems, they're not telling you the truth. To be fair, like this business is not like there's problems every single day. Yeah, it's how you manage it. It's how you build a system. So like the problems don't reach you, right? I think that is like the key to success in this business, amongst other things. But if people can't help you solve a problem, they're not really in the game. They're not really working on it. And I think that's where like you really build trust by seeing people in person and seeing how they react. Actually, like, hey, I have a question for you. Are you really actually like thinking about how to help me and like think about it, or is you giving me just a hand-waving response because you're trying to get to the next person, right? You can see like how a person is really, and that's why like I really like having an event yesterday because like the people that came, like Jeremy, when you came, I know you were on the flight, Syed, but like you guys all really talked to like the people that were there, like students that were there, like giving like a helpful advice, and I really appreciate that. Like everyone else that was there, like Emily, the Carwells, like just like, and so it was like very genuine, and that was the feedback that I got from everyone. It was like, oh wow, like everyone's really nice, like yeah, like we're not going to be there like we're not revenue to them, but like they still give us their time, and it's like really speaks volumes to like this industry or something out of here.
Yeah, and I would say, at the core, this industry is a hospitality industry, and like if you're gonna be good at it, you've got to be. I appreciate Syed's fixing my knife, which is just hospitality 101 right there. But this is a hospitality business, so those who like do well at it. Oh, we got Sean out here. Sean, you want to do a cameo? You coming in for the cameo?
Come on, Sean.
We went away. I had the slot for you. All right, we got guys. You are in for an absolute treat right now. Okay. All right. No cameo. We got Sean Rakovich, and now he's coming back. He's coming back. All right. You guys stay tuned. We're 28 minutes in, but you're in for a treat. Sean is, if you guys don't know, Sean Rakovich. What's his 30-second pitch? Mike, you're in.
He started in 2015. He runs like a bunch of units in Dallas. I think the thing about Sean is Sean actually started the YouTube game really early on, sharing a lot of his content, and he was actually one of the guys that actually put out real content for a long period, consistently put out real content for a long period of time. So I don't know the current state of his business, but what he talks about from the Airbnb side is actually real advice. So I think that's where I don't. There's some people on social media. There's only a handful of people on social media I respect, and he's one of the people. So I'm excited to have a conversation with him.
Yeah. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed. I guess last question for you guys. I'll let Mike, what is the last question you normally ask your folk you pod with?
What is the kindest thing that someone's done for you in your business to help it to grow?
Syed, you want to go first?
That's a tough question. I have to think of something like that.
He's got too many resources.
Yeah. So I'll tell you somebody that I have been vibing with or some people I've been vibing with is our group that we have with me, you, Hamza, and Victor. These are the players that I respect a lot with their opinion. And, one person that has been really kind to me has been Hamza. He has, motivated me a lot in my business because I see what he's doing and it makes me want to do big things. And also he convinced me and motivated me to make my own personal brand. So now that I'm doing that, I see the value of it, and I'm going to these conferences and I go into a room and people want to come up to you and talk to you because they already feel like they already know you because
they're pre-indoctrinated.
Yeah. Huge.
So it's just like easier, you don't have to like filter around and start the conversation. It just kind of flows to you now. So so Hamza really motivated me. He's got me into something that I really enjoy.
Nice. Jeremy?
Kindest thing. Well, I was actually joking that because Mark Simpson from Boostly, he asked me that when we were like just at the table. He organized the house we're staying at, and he actually asked that, like, what's the kindest thing someone has done for you? And I was at the STR Nation conference, and I couldn't. I had lunch, but there was no forks. And Chris, who actually is the one who pretty much organized this entire conference, he just left for 10 minutes and came back with a fork. Nice. I was like, that's the nicest thing anyone's ever done for my life. He like ran down the street and picked up a fork. I don't know if that was for my business, but I was happy about that. I'll give Chris a shout out on that front.
Look, I mean, kindness can come in many forms, in a fork or as a personal profile, personal branding business. It's just like I think just entrepreneurship is just like a team sport. It comes down to it. Like you're never gonna be successful. You're never gonna be successful by yourself, and that comes from hiring the right people, right, that work for you. Right. And then the people that don't work for you, but have a stake in you because they care about you and you care about them. And ultimately, like you want to go fast, you go alone, you want to go far, you need to.
And
I believe that 100%.
So and this is the question I ask is, what is your guys' biggest pro tip for 2024? That could be either in a short-term rental game or just life.
Yeah. Build a personal branding business. Build a personal brand. It's a business. Build a personal brand. I similarly, Hamza, and this is in Chicago actually with Syed here. He introduced me to Hamza and Derek, much younger than me. I didn't know who they were, and probably wouldn't have really taken their advice had I not been validated by Syed. And
the OG. He's the Godfather. His word holds the most weight.
We all help each other. But I mean, building a social media. I mean, that's how you and I met, right?
True.
You reached out to me on TikTok.
I think Michael had like 200 followers at the time too.
probably fewer than that.
I was one of the 200, I guess.
You and that 199 bots. But yeah, no, I mean, like coming to places where people recognize you, and they want you to get out of the podcast food.
Well, we are being kicked out of the podcast.
We're being kicked out right now. I hope you all enjoyed the episode.
Awesome. Stay tuned to the next time of the Short Term Rent Pros plus STR Like a Pro collaboration podcast.